Okay, we're out of executive session at 10:32. Let's do a roll call, make sure they came back.
Commissioner Whitmer?
I'm here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoll?
Here.
Okay, let's talk about budget now here. Would you want to read the
Proposed?
proposed budget?
Okay. Let me get
We-
my chocolate out of my mouth.
We've all given input to the administrator through the past few weeks. We want to see this, we want to see that, and she's tried to put together something that suited all of us, so we're gonna have to discuss some areas of that there are still issues.
Okay, I have the Commissioner's General Fund account totaled $306,088.51. Mailroom, $110,550. Auditors, $245,766.18. Treasurer's Office, $146,116.64. Prosecutor's Office, $633,576.88. Examiners is $99,000, that's our state audit.
Excuse me, Stacy, that's not what I got here. None of these figures are coming up. This is what you printed up to me last night.
Right. Our discussions and these include the 3% in
In
each,
the lines.
Okay, okay.
in each line.
Do you have a copy of, another copy?
I
of
got
that?
this one, it's my scribbled one, I don't know if there was other changes from
Okay.
this.
So that's the difference in these
Yes.
figures then?
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yep.
And that's the only difference?
That's the only difference.
Okay.
The only difference is the 3% in the lines.
I'm sorry there.
Nope, that's okay. Data processing, 36,000. Board of Elections, $295,726.43. Maintenance, $955,238.95. Recorders, $201,892.57. Insurance and pension, $1,507,895. Common Pleas 2, $124,530.66. Domestic Relation and CP 2, $93,389.19. Common Pleas 1, $133,131.27. Domestic Relation for Common Pleas 1, $93,389.19. Probate Court, $210,082.42. Clerk of Courts, $204,712.80. Public Defender, $3,850. Common Pleas Court Support Services, $236,383.70. Tiffin and Fostoria Court, $251,900. Juvenile Court, $737,233.19. Youth Center, $723,013.50. Coroner's Office, $92,818.01. Sheriff's Office, the roadside, $1,634,125.62. The jail side, $3,094,094,000, excuse me, I'll start over. $3,094,189. Court security, 39, dyslexic today, 93,000. I quit my head. Well, we're in those chocolates. Court security, $93,664.19. Tax map, $58,127.17. Airport, $25,000. Miscellaneous, $260,550. Contingencies, $1,196,454.74. Agriculture, $233,600. Vital statistics, $1,000. Children with handicaps, $97,137.87. A recycled line, $30,000. Veteran Services, $488,424.17. The Veteran Services Memorial Day expenses, $21,000. Public Assistance, $373,937 even, for a total that would make $15,049,494.86.
What's that, 15, 045,
49,
49?
494.86.
This represents approximately, well, it represents a 3% increase in the salary line items for a cost of living increase, which hasn't been done in several years. It represents a little bit more money for soil and water, about 10,000 for soil and water.
Yep.
There was about a little increase in EMS, some increase in
Slight
indigent
increase in the treasurer.
to make up for some of those DTAC funds that he's been supplementing.
Yep. Insurance went up.
Other than that, things are pretty much, I guess there was a decent increase set aside for court-appointed counsel.
Yes. That was the extra resolution done.
Indigent counsel.
Did we do that in the middle of the year?
Mhm.
For 45,000. It's in contingencies right now, because it will be distributed between all of the cities juvenile
As needed.
as needed. It's in
I
contingencies
think
right
that
now.
represents the major changes that I can think of. Okay, we're open for discussion. We don't have a motion yet. We're open for discussion in case something changes.
We had a little bit of a decrease in Tiffin and Fostoria Court as a
Yes,
result
good point, good
of
point.
stuff there, so that
The-
obviously helped us do some of those little increases that we did in other places.
One of the things that we haven't done is the county has spent, I think it was 800,000 or 900,000 from the Palmer Energy, from the, trying to save in utilities. We have not budgeted less in the utilities this year to compensate or to take that out. And what the hope is that at the end of the year, with the savings would generate from those things that we've implemented through the Palmer Energy Group, that we can use that. And even though we have allocated funds to be able to repay for the capital expenditure, any additional savings that we see on the utilities, that we're gonna use that to pay down this capital expenditure loan sooner than later.
And that's up to the board.
And there was a decrease on the foster care of 50,000 as well. And well, I guess while I'm talking about that, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to bring up. We have foster care down 50,000, which is just absolutely historically a bottom. I'm a little concerned with that number, but I can live with that number. We did not budget the sheriff nearly what he asked for in salaries, but we don't normally do that because there's a little bit of the keep the ICE prisoners up, and we'll give you more later. But I think we're a little bit short there. Stacy's original budget, Mrs. Wilson's original budget, had it a little bit higher, and I'm a little uncomfortable with that number. Might be just a hair low. Personally, I would rather see the 46,000 that we set aside for the indigent counsel that's due to go up the first of the year. I'd like to rescind that motion, take that 46 and put it back toward the sheriff. If I have support for that, we can do that, but as you know, that was a 2-to-1 vote at the time it happened, so I throw that out for discussion.
Yeah. I still stand with my earlier decision there. I believe that there's enough contingencies, and I think that, because I don't know if this is, it certainly is not debatable, the Budget Commission has certified a more conservative approach to, for our taxes, and didn't quite give us what we received this year. So I think that we're more than covered there, in there. And then we also have a figure in for contingencies that is just $100,000 that's just there to take care of, you know, some other issues. So I'm comfortable with all those things. The only thing, and I guess this is probably time to mention it, while I am supportive of the 3% cost of living adjustment, where there was some dissension on the board, is I felt that we need to put it in contingencies, but not to distribute it. And my direction was to more ask for the county departments to give us a comparison assessment of staffing level and salary levels on comparable sized counties. So, and while I did agree, and certainly can support that we need to do a cost of living adjustment and a 3% to put it in contingencies, but before that we would physically give it to each individual department, that department would have to come back to this board and give us comparative data on staffing levels in comparable counties and salary levels of comparable counties versus carte blanche just giving it. But again, it's this is a 3-member board, and it was, the decision was that we would just take it out of contingencies and just give it to the department heads and request and ask them if they would give us this information that we may be able to use in future years. And I would have preferred to put a little bite in the process, but again, this is a 3-member board, and I can live with the decision, but the 3%, I certainly was supportive of that. Another thing, again, I think I discussed this, is the utilities, is that we're projecting, or it was given to the previous board, and we made these improvements, that it was gonna, roughly, was it an 8-year payback? Was, okay, 8-year payback, about an $800,000 investment in, Earl's here, I think it's Earl, and, yeah, to update us on that, but we should see our utilities for the county, it was about that should be roughly about $80,000 to $100,000 a year savings. We kept it in at the higher level, but again, our hope is that we can, we'll see some funds generated from that because of less utility bills. So, you know, I'm supportive of the budget with the exclusion. I will vote in support of the budget, but I just wanted to make an opinion from the salary, the compensation, cost of living, and how we distribute it is somewhat a little different than what I thought.
I'm in support of the budget as presented and with the cost of living, you know, in there, so that the supervisors, department heads have that ability to continue managing, knowing that they have that in there to do for their employees, because that's been quite some time. I guess I'm pleased that the budget commission certified the 15.1 as they did, last week, made some minor adjustments today, but left it at 15.1, but as Fred said, it is conservative, in line with where our sales tax has come in this year, but, you know, there's just some things, some unknowns out there, and I'd rather we be on that conservative side than to overestimate it and then find ourselves overspending or otherwise on it. So, and I'm stand with remaining with the what we chose to do with the indigent console, the $5 increase we did on that, and glad that we have that in contingencies to cover that if it's needed.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, Jeff, just one other thing, the directive that we are giving the department heads is not that everyone in the county is going to get a 3% raise. What we're doing is we're increasing their budget for salaries 3%. And they can just, so let's just say there's a 3,000, let's make it simple, at $10,000 salaries in a given department. They will get 3%, so what is that, 300? So now their salary base will be $10,300 in that department, so they can distribute that out to however they see. Some may get 5% and some may only get 1%. But it's 3% to their overall salary budget. They can distribute that out based on merit and how the individuals perform within the department. I think that's important to say that,
Yeah.
so that all of a sudden, all county employees don't think there's gonna be 3%. And these are only general, no, they're not only, they're beyond general fund.
Well, this is general fund we're voting on right now.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, we haven't done a 3% across the board for some, but we did a supplement, but we've not done a 3% across the board for some time. And in that time, the insurances went backwards at least 2 or 3 times. I don't know if backwards is the right word, but the premiums have gotten more expensive in that time.
And we are still hopeful that we do get comparative information. The department has come forth with that, with the comparative data that we can use more for next year's budgeting process.
I'd like to thank Mrs. Wilson for putting this together. We fed her ideas throughout. I'd say, I wanna see this, I have to see this, and I would say, no, I gotta have this, and she worked it out to this point, and we appreciate all your work. As you can see, none of us got exactly what we wanted, so.
There still is, you were concerned about the public assistance. The budget only come to 15,049,494.86. There is room there that I could put the 50,000 back in there. It would bring it
In
up
the
to,
foster care,
if,
I think the sheriff is a more critical need
Okay.
than the foster care, but that's okay. If it's sitting out there,
To-
not spent,
to do
we can
later.
do that
Okay.
later if we
Okay.
need.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend everything that has been certified for us, and our hope is, as I'm understanding more of this budget process, and again, I'm a newbie this year, so it's been an enlightening experience, but as the year goes on and sales tax and ICE revenue is over and above what was estimated, then we can start looking at appropriating some different things if we find out there's additional funds available.
Another thing that's in the budget that wasn't in last year is 2 cars. We have 2 sheriff cruisers in this budget that weren't there last year, as well as the 53 road studies. Thinking of these things as we. Okay, is there a motion that we approve the budget as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the budget as outlined by Mrs. Stacy.
Mrs. Wilson?
Mrs. Wilson. It's got too many Stacy's and.
Mrs. Stacy will second that.
All right, is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes. Okay, do you wanna run through the new business that they're doing?
do you want the non-general?
Oh, the non-general, we get to the non-general fund budgets too, okay, yep.
Okay.
I guess they want money for next year too.
They
don't
do. Non-general fund, I have the real estate fund 016, $411,502.24. Ditch maintenance, $366,820. The CSEA, $1,206,250. M&R fund, $4,321,399.20. DRETAC Treasurers Fund, $31,350. Prosecutors DRETAC Fund, $51,160.97. Commissary Fund, $22,210. Public Assistance Fund, 030, $3,897,335.16. I'll repeat that, $3,897,335.16. Law Library, $59,750. Dog and Kennel Fund, total $179. Do it again. $179,491.71. Soil and Water, $532,125. The Allen Irie Fund, $51,700.68. Drug Forfeiture Fund 046 is $1,000. Concealed Carry Fund 047 is $25,500. Forfeiting Land Fund 055, total of $25,000. EMS Fund 064, $607,000. $156.20. Workforce Investment Fund, 066, $340,750. 911 Fund, 068, is $9,574.20. Mental Rotary, 072, $300. Moving Ohio Forward, Fund 073, total $291,404.60. Marriage License Fund 077, $12,500. Children's Services Fund 078, $790,000. Juvenile Special Projects Fund 079 is $600. Foster Children Fund 080, $3,000. Wireless 911 Fund 087, $82,500. Probate Special Projects Fund 093, for a total of $28,217. Revolving Loan Fund 094 is $39,000. Sheriff Highway Safety Grant 095, $24,460. Employee Health Fund 099, $2,263,820. Indigent Guardian Fund 100 is $8,600, excuse me. EMA Fund 102, $153,233. Probate Fund 103 is $1,000. CDBG FY12 Fund 105, $71,100. Computerized Legal Research 106, $5,000. Special Projects Fund 108, $7,876.53. CDBG FY13 Fund 111 is $114,000. The VOCA Fund 112, $113,647.40. The SVA Fund for 112, this is Libra's other account, $7,100.60. Computer Research Fund 113, $5,800. VAP Court Cost Fund 138 is for $420. County Sewer Fund 139 for Hammer Heinzman, $29,199.91. Bascom Sewer Fund 139 is $241,657.11. New Regal Sewer Fund $167,470.28. Honey Creek Sewer Fund $34,884.91. US 23-224 Sewer Fund is $43,412.64. The CHIP FY13 Fund 140, total $400,000. Probate Computer Fund 147 for $19,000. Clerk of Courts Computer Fund 148 is $17,500. Hazmat 150 is for $3,752.85. Hazardous Mitigation Fund 146 for $7,500. Clerk of Courts Title Fund 155, total $194,730.20. Recorder Equipment Fund 156 for $22,000. Delinquent Care and Custody Fund 159 for $156,252.25. Washington Street Bridge 161 for $300. Delinquent Care and Custody Grant 162 for $172,437.62. Underground Storage Tank 165 for $11,854.51. Annexation Fund 170 for $700. Community Service Fund 175 for $5,000. Juvenile Program and Services Fund 176 for a total of $42,850. Metrich Fund 178 for $40,000. Flex Spending Account 179 for $36,340.24. Metrich Fund 180 for $1,000. Community Corrections Fund 181 for $23,885.42. Housing RLF Fund 194 for $24,000. Safe Havens Grant 213 for $140,096. Capital Improvements 900,000. Water Pollution Control Fund 221 for $83,000. Pre-sentence and Investigation Writer Fund 226 for $54,343.50. Bascom Note Interest Fund 231 for $139,200. Our Bond Retirement 310 for $575,917.50. And the Capital Facilities Note Fund 312 for $1,222,080.
Could you repeat that?
I think what's the total of the
They're all separate funds. I don't have a total for all of the funds together because they're all separate funds. I can add them up. I just don't have a total
Some of
for.
those job and family services, they're big,
Yeah, I
big
mean,
numbers.
I'm just kidding. I'll use Excel. It's
If I
easier.
recall, I thought it was somewhere around 50 million.
You
Around
brought it up
50,
tomorrow.
50, 60, because what I understood is the overall responsibility of the commissioners was about 74 million. Of that, 15.1 is the general fund, and the rest is county, state mandated things that was just kind of a pass-through. I think that's kind of an interesting thing, is what we really have control over is 15 million. What goes through the county's hand, the commissioner's hands here is roughly 74 million, but the vast majority of it is just mandated, and
You better
State
add
name.
those up before you print that. No, 74 is quite,
well, that,
I mean, that may
yeah,
very well be close.
yeah, I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of general figures, and she can,
Yeah, I'll total that for
Stacy,
you.
yeah.
If not, quote Fred.
Yeah. If it's inaccurate, yeah. But I think it's just interesting,
No, that's
we
a
are
lot of
spending
money.
a lot of tax, and all of it is taxpayers' money, into one, well, I guess
Most
not all
of
of
it.
it, the vast
Most of
majority
it.
of it is.
There's some like the marriage license fund or something like that, that
Well,
would
that's
be.
tax.
I guess.
That's
I
a
guess,
tax.
yes. Okay, is there a motion on those budgets there?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any more discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes. Then anything else on the budgets?
The only thing I have, the local government funding, the expenditures, we set up a formula for public safety from a percentage, small percentage of our local government fund. We've done this for numerous years, and as I mentioned in a previous session, that this is the year we extend for 2014, 2015, and 2016. It's just a resolution authorizing the expenditures for public safety from the local government fund for 14, 15, and 16. The only increase was what you had mentioned in the general fund would transfer over 20,000 for the EMS. And otherwise, all of them stay the same. It includes $10,000 for the floodplain management. We set $65,000 a year aside for EMS for their ambulance replacement. The county pays $2,500 per squad, up to $2,500 per squad for workers' comp. We pay for housing, $2,000 per squad. We pay for housing for each squad. And that goes to the townships. $60,000 goes to EMA. Let's see, the squads get an administrative fee of $1,000 per squad. The coordinators get $700 a year, so total $4,900 a year. And we also allocate $30,000 for reimbursement to each squad. It's based on runs. If percentage of runs, they get a percentage of the $30,000. So it's very minimal. The total is $250,000 that we're splitting up between EMA, all the squads, and Soil and Water does our floodplain management.
And that is, we have to approve that as well.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we would approve that as outlined.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes. Okay, if that's all the budget-related stuff, we'll save the old new business for a few moments since we have some guests to talk to us. New schedule 11, Dwayne, did you have something first, or did you want to just listen to the
Is
presentation?
Sunoco coming?
Yes, right here.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, that's at 11:30. We have we have Palmer Energy, Mr. Reed at 11 o'clock.
Thank you. You know, I have the same problem in my office. I have two Tracys and a Stacy, and I gotta be careful what I say because I always screw it up. My wife says, "Who are you talking to?" I'm Tracy. She says, "Tracy,
Stacy."
Stacy," but no, I'm trying to keep things under control. Thank you for letting me come back and talk to you about where we are. I might have some handout. Oops, I'm losing it.
You don't get any.
I decorate trees in the side. This is basically, we'll give you an idea of where we are, and I'll go through that with you in a few minutes. And this kind of gives you an outline. I'd like to take this step by step, if you don't mind.
Okay.
When we first started this project, there were a number of different things we were going to do. Roofs, HVAC, controls, lighting. So I said, okay, let's take a look at what you originally were looking at and what we did going forward, and what's changed, if there's been changes, and then what those changes were, and what the cost elements were in that process. So if you look in the first column, that's what was submitted to you, to the commissioners under the previous board, and what we thought the costs were going to be to do what we thought would be an appropriate fix of some things. And within that context, under the roofs, we talked about, on this building, there's gonna be a metal roof with a lot of engineering costs, and so that's what was gonna happen under the maintenance in those two other roofs. After looking at it, we had time to sit down, I did some investigation with a couple of the firms, and let's take a look at this, and we came up with a 20-year roof, which is what you have on now, and it's a good roof. Local vendor can do the work, as opposed to bringing somebody from the outside to do the work. The work content is fine, the job is good, I watched it go through. So we were able to take that money and reduce that cost substantially. Metal roofs are good roofs, I'm not suggesting they're not, they're expensive. And there was an engineering element to it because we had to make sure that their support processes in the building were gonna be able to handle it all. So at the end of the day, of that, about $40,000 that was engineering, the rest of it was the roof. We were able to walk away about $32,000 with a good roof on your building, installed, ready to go. So that was one of the ways we took some dollars out of the project. And at the same time, we did some other things. We asked you, and you did, do maintenance on the jail, a couple of other CSB, and the bank building, which is a good thing to do. You need to do that every year. You have to do the maintenance to extend the life for the 5-year window. And it can happen, it will happen, but you must do that. So I just want to make sure we're there. Under the lighting, we have not done the lighting yet, and then quite honestly, we will do it in 2014 because AEP has a new rebate program, which will actually bring more dollars to you than the old one. So we're going to roll that in 2014. We have it ready to let go. And January 1st it starts, we'll just release it, bid the project again, and come back. I think the numbers, we originally had 130, I got 139 there. I think we're going to be close to 130. 139 is the highest bid I received of the 3 bids that came in. Didn't want to give you a low bid and turn around and have to give you a high number. I'd rather tell you this is the worst case scenario, and we'll get better. I think we'll be better because of it. The boiler project, let's go back, that's a CSB. When we first looked at that job, we were going to replace the boiler, the rooftop unit at the old bank, and the chiller. So we went back and we did some investigation. The rooftop unit in the old bank, maintenance, that's got a lot of life left in it. We said, leave that alone. Well, we took that out. Then we took a look at the boiler and said, the boiler, well, it's older, still has sufficient life in it to not have to make that capital investment now. It's going to work well, it's been working well, will continue to work well. So leave it alone. You've got another 10 years on that boiler minimally, so that we can not waste that capital. The chiller, we had to do that. We have to go through and get that done. So we did do that. That reduced that number from 185,000 to 81,000 for the chiller. That's a chiller cost. To all the equipment associated with it, what went in. Included in that, so I'll make this clear, you're only gonna pay it was the tanks and there's a lot of other things. That was a contract with Wadsworth. You bought that, a lot of that equipment under state term. By doing that, which you reduced your project cost by about $20,000. So this 81,000 includes that reduction in cost. So I think the important thing is, had you not done it this way, had you not said, we'll buy the stuff, you'd have paid that $20,000 in fees to other firms. So that was a smart move on your part, and I think it's the right way to do business. The open architecture installation, so it's $540,000. You'll see it says $623,600. I want to talk about that a little bit. One, when we first estimated, I think we weren't as close as we needed to be. Two, when we went out and put it in the street, the number we put out was 635,000. So it's coming in around 623,000. That includes all the integration work, which is the software segment, to allow you to look at the operation of your buildings and look at all that, as far as all the wiring, all the software development, the installation in the buildings, which is ongoing right now. That is in that number, so you're aware of that. So I think we probably didn't do as good a job estimating. We took a less estimate, and we found some things post our original estimate. This is going to cause us a little upside. So at the end of the day, the actual numbers are going to come in, I think, really well. First off, I want to just hit the third column. It talks about energy savings. I'm just looking at the roof out here. Anything will save energy now. that was a tough building. That was a tough roof. We figured you're going to save about $8,500 just looking at the.
This is annual.
These are annual numbers. On that roof, we took some. I had to take a couple of photos with heat sensing photos. It was everything. Everything's going out. So we've stopped it. We've improved the insulation. I think you'll find an improvement in this section of the building back out there. Looking at the energy efficient lighting, I actually reduced that number. From originally it was like 22,500. I took the 17.5. The only reason I did that was I think we're going to end up having less lights go in versus what was there before. So I wanted to make sure that I'm going to be conservative. You probably will get more, but I'm going to just say that's what I think you're going to be at. Under the replacement of the boiler chiller over at CSB, you can do nothing but save money there. That was a tough one that we had in there. It did a good job. It was beyond its life. It's a much more efficient process. You've got a lot more control of it. You're going to save about $20,000 a year running that thing. And then the last thing, under the open architecture controls, now that's all the wiring that went in, all the systems that are going in. We got about $107,000. That's what we committed to. I think that's realistic. I think it's going to be there. If you take a look, that's about a 14% return over tall, 15% return. That's in the high end of controls, but given what we're doing, I think you're going to be in good shape in the process in the long term. The last thing I had in there was $20,000. If you remember, you had a contract with Honeywell. It varied between $30,000 and $50,000. I said, well, I'm not going to come here and tell you you're going to save $50,000 a year, because you're not. You're still going to have to do maintenance on some of the equipment out there. We did not replace any hardware, big type equipment at the jail or other buildings. We put controls in, but those elements will help you. I'm going to give you an example. At JFS right now, I'm not sure what happened, but someone went out and they clipped all the wires to all what we call actuators, opening out the air vents sometime in the last year or two. And what that did is it makes the building either real hot or stuffy. So we found that, so we're going to have to go ahead and make some changes and put that back in place. And I had a contractor that's looking at that now. That was something we did not know. We had no reason to know that. So we started saying, why isn't this working right? We went in and found they cut all the wires. So somebody obviously did not want to do something, or something happened. So that changed the way that building operated. And we're going to change it back to the way it should operate by doing the things we're doing. So that'll help to increase, I think, the efficiency and increase savings in that process that wasn't planned on. Rebates, lighting. I'm saying $15,000 for the lights. I am absolutely being conservative. There's a lot of different. I think the plan will probably generate more than that, but I want to make sure that the check comes in for that much minimally. But I think we're being conservative. And then there's one other rebate we can look at. When you take a look at putting the control system AEP has a special program which says if you put a control system in a building that has so many square feet, that they will pay you 20 cents a square foot in rebate, as long as you have certain factors in the building, like the ability to turn, control the temperature, have it on a clock system, or whatever we need to do. So we took a look at the requirements. There's about 25 different options we're gonna fit in, so we'll be able to tap into that rebate. I think it's about $10,000 you'll be able to bring back along with the 15. So we're looking at about $25,000. We think are real rebates, and think we should be able to come back and say, here's a check from AEP. We take nothing to that. That all comes back to the county. It's the county's money. And we don't touch that. Some firms do. We don't do that. Whatever they write the check for, you're going to get. So that would work out. So the status, the first item, the roof, that's done and paid for. The second one is the lighting, we'll do in January, start in January. This chiller has been replaced. Almost all the work has been. There is some work that we have to do in April, which I said we would come back and do the testing of the chiller. There's some tanks that have to go in. We'll probably put them in January, so we're holding that in the retainage money for the contractor. So just so you know, that we're going to pay the contractor and hold his retainage. He has a reason to come back. It's about $40,000 he's not going to get his hands on until he does the final work. But we just, that chiller needs to be checked out thoroughly. And what it also does is it delays your warranty until April. So it gives you rather than paying warranty on something that's not, you're not using, it's not worth
I
it.
think it was a 10-year warranty.
10-year.
Instead of doing it in October, you do it, we can prolong it another 6 months.
You got another 6 months out that you wouldn't normally get, so I think that's prudent management of your process, of your stuff. The controls are in process. We have had some issues. I know the staff has been very helpful to me to give me some information when people are complaining. The jails had some issues, and they still have some issues, and we are working on those today. And by the end of next week, most of this is all going to be all solved. We are working on it. There's little things. When you do these projects, you will find things that you didn't know were out there, and we are finding them. And so we're trying to create a better situation. The people have been very helpful, they're very patient, and we appreciate that, but we are working to make that work well. And like obviously your contract's completed, we aren't doing that anymore. Last two columns, this is where I have to go back to my boss and tell him that I did a good job and we're not getting as much money back. The first one tells what we forecasted, was about $74,000 in fee. We actually, because we have reduced the cost of the project, and I have a sheet that'll show that. You basically, we had $1,060,000. It's going to come in around $877,000. So you actually got a reduction in cost. We're going to see a reduction about in our fee about $10,000, and I'm glad to give it to you.
Thank you.
And there'll be no coal in my sock at Christmas.
So under the energy savings, once this
Exactly.
is fully implemented, once it's fully complete, you're projecting $153,000.
Correct.
Not counting the rebate or the Honeywell. contract.
173.
No,
Well, I took out the
$20,000. It's a
contract.
contract cost that you're saving from Honeywell.
This is just the energy stuff. This is the contract with Honeywell we did.
That,
okay,
that's
well,
just money back.
that'll be- yeah.
And that's a variable number. It may be greater some years, it could be less, depends on what you do. And that's the jail. So you gotta remember that jail had a pretty good number. And you have some equipment in there, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna have to have some touching. You gotta touch it a little bit. We have gone through, we've done some things, we put in some brand new valves, which were formerly pneumatic, operated by air. They're all digital now, which operate all the water and the steam and stuff in hot water, all hot water. And it'll work much more cleanly, better, more evenly. But you still have the boilers, the chillers, and it's still there, and they have their age on them. But I think there's life left there. We would recommend a change if they thought we had to do that. We don't do that.
You're pretty confident with that number. 153 is reasonable.
Yeah, I think I think it's a reasonable. Our position has been to try to look at things in a conservative manner. Obviously, I'm going to give you a caveat, the one I had to give everybody. How you operate the buildings will dictate how you save your money. If you do the buildings the right way, and the right way is, they don't run wild on cooling, they don't run wild on heating, that you basically can control it. We have put in thermostatic controls that will allow you to operate and control the building independently. This system, if you lost whatever, every building is independently operated. Now, we have to talk about a little bit, and we will later on, about the controls, how we do it universally, how you can basically sit at your desk and look at any building. We have to do some other things to accommodate that. You have no network, and we have to put that in place. So we'll talk about that. So after I got a meeting later today with some people, and we'll talk Thursday and go through that process and come up with some process for you.
I just think it's good to know we're projected to save 150, on a less than 900,000 investment, we're gonna save 150 a
Yeah.
year in energy costs, plus 20,000 on a Honeywell contract annually.
And in the 150, I'm gonna tell you, it's on the high end, but I think it's realistic, given the buildings we had, the issues we see, and what we did. I'll say that's what we've seen you saving in regards to that.
Plus, there's some rebates in there as well.
There's rebates, $25,000 in rebates,
rebates.
so our incentive is to try to get you to a place where you can be where you need to be at. So.
Stacy, what is our utility cost?
Utility costs
Yeah.
total,
You look at all the buildings and so forth,
our contract services as a whole is 700,000. But that does include the minor repairs for vehicles and stuff like that too. So just utility costs, I'd have to.
I think your utility costs somewhere around 610, 615, based on what we found.
25% savings. What I would like to do, and Earl, I mean, just for our own
Sure.
justification, is, because basically, everything has been implemented except the lighting.
And the
Okay,
controls.
and the controls and stuff, that's in progress. But when do you anticipate that to be finished?
I'm trying to have that all in by the end of the year. My intent is
Okay,
to try
and
to,
that's-
so that you have a 2014 to start going forward.
Yep.
That's my goal to do that. And then I'm anticipating that you're gonna have, just because of the nature of the beast and what we've run into, 3-4 month window where people are gonna be up and back. Now, I normally do this in a summer, fall period, and we're doing it in a winter period, so it may not be that long. People get used to it and they adjust things. We'll probably be back again adjusting in the spring on the HVAC side. But you will see some ups and downs in that until we get it balanced out. Once it's balanced out, it should lock in and be pretty good to go.
What I'd like to do is just for us to see a flow chart here. We know what we paid this
Yeah.
year, and next year when we get January's bill in, we can
Yeah,
compare
year over
it.
year. And-
Yeah, and
Sure.
it kind of,
Tanya has all
we can
that.
see this trend
Sure.
going down, because this certainly will have a dramatic effect on our budgets,
Yeah.
on our carryover and what things we can do. This should bring up in roughly 150,000 of additional revenue in.
If everything goes like it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I know.
And
That's why I
and
wanna-
I'm always
that's why I
saying
wanna track
that,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
from our
Additional revenue
perspective,
in,
the
it's just
controls
less revenue
will
in.
do what they have to do. They will do what they have to do. And everything that happens, and that means you have clock systems that you can shut buildings down, run to a lower temperature. You don't do that now. And so now you're able to monitor buildings and run them at a lower temperature, run them a little higher, run them a little. I know I had a little cold over here last week, so occupied, unoccupied. So we're going to try to make sure that we're putting everything in there we can to help the county manage their buildings and get that cost out.
Now, to put this the central control system you're talking about, and I'm sure you have a rough idea, what something like this costs, because would be an additional.
It's an additional
contract we
cost,
would do.
and I'll have a better answer this afternoon. Typically, the problem is not the installation, the problem is your ongoing monthly cost. Your ongoing monthly cost, depending upon where we go, could be anywhere from $800 to $2,000 a month. And I always say that because you have no network. If you had a network, I wouldn't be a problem, but most counties have a formal network. If you have not one, we have to get one installed. I've been talking to vendors for the last month and a half, trying to figure out how to do this. So we're gonna discuss that. One of the things that I'm looking at is, what are you doing now? You're doing some things with Ethernet, you're doing some things with internet connections. Can we take that out and put the network system in and avoid those costs, so you get a little bit of a wash? I think that we can do some, I know we can do some of that, so it's a matter of how we accommodate that. So I want to I have a meeting this afternoon, talk to some people, I'll be back Thursday to talk about it. I'll have a better perspective, but I think that you're gonna have to look at, I've seen as high as 4,000, we're not going there, so just back off. I said, we gotta figure out how to get it less than that. And I'm working on that, so when I come back, I will present to you what I think are reasonable options, to give you have, so you can say, this is what we'd like to do. One of the things I have asked, but not mandated, if you wanted to do video arraignment between the courthouse and the jail, so they don't have to transport those prisoners back and forth, that you have the capacity to do that. And now,
We do that now, don't we?
We used to do that with common pleas, but when they did some adjustments, just those two buildings aren't working, the sheriff and common pleas. The
Oh,
city's
they're
still
working
good,
The
and then
city's
the
good.
ICE is still good for Cleveland. It's only
Okay.
the link between
Okay.
common pleas and the jail.
Okay.
And
so those costs,
Thank you.
the transportation costs and stuff, that's a cost. And that will reduce your cost. So I'm looking at it from, my exposure to these things has been, in my old life in Lucas County, when we did that, we knocked some costs down very quickly because we had a lot of people involved. You're a different county, you have different service rates, which might change that number, but the impact is still the same on your budget, so.
Thank
I did ask the second sheet is basically a project cost where we are, completed segments. I want to go through that real quickly. You see the roofing deals, $205,000, we estimate $202,000. That $172,000 favorable. I want to be honest with you. You know, we didn't do all that roof work, so that's just numbers, that was there. I don't want to make them, I'm just saying, if you look at things from the original number, this is what it looks like. On the now, on the Wadsworth one, the second one, the boiler, CSB, HVAC, it says 81,320, that's what your contract is for with them. You're only gonna be charged 73,523 because that 7796 is for a tank to go in at the CSB building. That tank didn't fit, so they had to put smaller tanks in. Wadsworth didn't supply those. Warner Mechanical supplying those. So you're gonna pay less to Wadsworth, we're gonna take that money and put it over Warner Mechanical's hands and say, do this. So, just so you know, that's a switch out, but you're gonna pay less to Wadsworth than what you formerly contracted for. Warner has a contract for $529,600. You've paid them $391,750 so far. You own $137,863. You're going to pay them $137,863. In there was some allowance money. I've used that money up in different places. We had $65,000 in allowances total between. And the largest portion of it went for the steel and the installation and the engineering design for the chiller that came out on the roof, which was not there before. That has been done, it's good to go, it's up installed. The other thing you'll see up there, if you look at it from the back side of the building, there's a handrail, because you never had one up there, and legally you have to have one. So we had to put that up in place up also. All the piping that's gone outside, so all that is in there, which was not something that we forecasted. We just said, put an allowance in there because we don't know what you're going to have to do. We didn't have engineering design of the building, didn't have the structural process. They put the money in, and that money has been expended. The other money was for controls, and we knew as we walked into the buildings we were going to find issues, and we found a number of them, whether it be old equipment, bad equipment, and so on. We've been replacing as we go along. In some cases, we've had to add additional things to allow the system to function greater than what we thought we'd have to. So that allowance was used to address that. We have, so I think it'll probably nearly all be gone in total. The $7,700 will probably be what you're gonna see return to the county, just so you know. But it's still, you're under, I'm not coming back and asking for more money. I'm not doing that on this project. Basically, this project's gonna come in as we said it would. And in fact, we're coming in $140,000 under, which we would, so I feel a little better about that. Integration, if that's the software. That's all the software and all the installation and all the stuff we had to do out in the field to get it in place. And then there's that fee thing that I get paid, so, but it's less. So, and then at the end of the thing is the energy efficient lighting. I think our number will come in close to the 130 than 139, but I'm gonna have to wait and see what results are of that, and we should make it work.
So AEP is going more aggressive in their rebate
Yes,
program?
yes and no. Yeah, yes, they're being aggressive. It depends upon the kind of light you're looking at. So we're trying to take advantage of that. We're looking at potential putting some LED lights in some places, as well as the regular fluorescents that we can get advantage of. So I think at the end of the day, whatever we end up with in determination, we'll see an improvement over what's out there. So rather than run the risk of going through and doing it and losing the opportunity, so let's wait till January. Nothing's gonna change between now and then, we can get that in place and do it, so.
And those rebates are one time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's a one-time deal, so let's see the max we can max out of it. But the other thing is, you get the savings every day. But you'll notice in there's some energy savings, we're gonna get that every day. It contributes to the process, so. And that's those are the energy savings on lighting, energy savings on controls, the energy saving on the roof. Those are all, you've done the work, and I commend you. You've taken the chance to put the stuff out there, and it's gonna be a good thing for you.
Well, some of the stuff we had to do anyway, that
Yes.
Miller was gonna.
Your chiller was history, and you're gonna have to do that, and it would been, and I think it was smart and prudent to do it the way that it, and also, you've done a portion of the roof up there, the section where the chiller sits and the elevator section, that is now done, so you can take, that portion of the roof, it's not gonna be a problem for you. The remaining portions of that roof still need to be replaced. I have looked at it, we can have it done in segments. It's about less than $50,000 per segment, and you can get to a place where you have a 20-year roof at the end of that segmentation. So it takes the cost down all at once. My thought was, if we can reduce the capital cost outlay all at once, and then what that does for you is it basically allows you to shift your capital outlays for those kind of static things different on the calendar, rather than if we did all at once and every year, every time they come up at the same time. You can kind of adjust your way through that. Makes it a little easier for yourselves, and you're thinking about the guys and the ladies, and we're gonna be here later, sitting in your seat. It'll be easier for them to forecast their expenditures in that regard, so it's right.
Do we need to start looking at that roof? I think you said 5 years.
I would suggest to you this is just my suggestion. I would think that you might wanna take a look at CSB bank building roof, and I would take a section every year over the next 3 years and replace it and be done with it. I think that would be the right way to go, because then, at the end of that 3-year window, the vendor will roll up that entire section and give you 20 years from that date. What that also does is that as you go forward, the people who will sit in these chairs then say, I'd like to replace that roof, they can again take it in sections and do that. And I think it's the right approach to go after it in that regard.
In each section there's 3 sections that would have to be done. Each one's about 50,000.
A little under 47,000 at this point, that's where you're at, yeah.
My recommendation would be there is if we can, either yourself or the roofing contractor, to come back to this board sometime at the beginning of the second quarter
We can do that.
of this year. That way we
Okay.
can see how
I'll do
our
that.
revenue is coming. If we find out we're over, then we can start, because we haven't got that in the budget this year. Yeah.
Well,
So
then
that
you-
way sometime around May,
Yeah.
something
That'd
like
be
that,
good.
and
Sure.
then we'll have a good snapshot at our budgets and say, hey, we're running over what was certified. Hey, we can start looking at things like that, but
Yeah, another thing is, you're not losing me. Basically, we're here for a year of your warranty, and we're here with your gas and electric, so I'm not going anywhere. I'll be glad to come back with it, and we can give another presentation for that. And I would then caution you to say, you're going to have to look at the jail. The jail is the other building that we said we get 5 years out of. We can kind of walk our way through that and get you to a place that you can, again, I would recommend you do it in segments. Those are big chunks of dollars you put out at one time. You don't have to do that, and you can still get the same result.
well, let's just have to look at it. If we can do this in 3-year segments, that building, and then we start the jail,
Yeah.
and, and then year 4 and year 5, we could basically fit your 5-year plan, year 6, every year, allocate.
That would be, that would be wise planning to your money, because it basically minimizes that hit in the capital money, and it maximizes your ability to get the roofs the way they need to be. You're gonna do some maintenance between now and then, as well as doing your roof replacement, but I'm convinced that the way to do it is to do it that way, because most organizations don't have that money, especially in this day and age. We just don't have those dollars, most counties. And they just say, how can we step our way through this? As I told you before, people used to ask me, can you make it last 1 more year? Yeah, I can make it last another year, but you really don't want me to do that at some point.
Leaking roofs are a problem.
Leaking roofs are always a problem. And it's a bigger problem than the roof. It's a bigger problem than the entire building, so. That's what I like to say, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Reed while he's here?
Keep it on your ticker file to come back in April.
We'll be here. Well, I'll be here probably sometime in January when we complete the project to kind of go through. We will give you, I have a lot of stuff to present to whoever we want to. And by the way, before I forget, Dean Dispel has done a great job. He's been very, very helpful. He's allowed us the ability to do things which I can, get us in places, take time, explain issues to us, so I've been very pleased, as well as your office staff who bailed me out of more trouble than I care to think about it.
We like it.
And Stacy, if we could document that month, I'd like to just,
Yep.
every month, get an update on that. And I realize that we gotta see the long trend, but if we don't start the long trend, we gotta start out short term here.
Yeah.
If you just
Tanya
had to
tracks
put
it
on last
monthly.
year's and compared it to this year's.
Yep, and all you do is every
It
month.
should be
just
month over
plug
month,
in
it should
what
be
our new-
month over month, year over year.
Yep,
It should
yep.
happen.
Yep.
Because that is a substantial savings that can truly help.
Again,
the
remember,
county's
this
budget.
first few months, you're gonna see variation as we go through the buildings, but you'll get there, you'll be there, because this stuff is there to do.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mr. Coop from Sunoco.
Excuse me, just a
Oh, yeah.
just recess for a minute.
Just pass a couple of.
Thank you.
I'm running a little bit low on materials today. They cleaned me out
Okay.
last night, so.
I can always make more.
But I've been in the Seneca, sort of Fostoria, Hancock area a lot lately. It's a really nice place to be. The people are really nice, so I appreciate that. We'll wait for.
Yeah, please, just for a moment. Where do you live at?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So, we got the same storm, I think, that you guys did, but you guys get pounded with snow up here. Wasn't expecting that. There's about, I think, 6 inches or so on the ground, so it's been snowing every time I've been out here in the last couple of weeks.
I have one. You want one?
Is he related to Lori Zoller?
I think they are some relation,
Okay.
by marriage.
Okay, she's a trustee in, I
Yeah.
think, Hopewell Township.
Right.
Yeah. You're with the newspaper? Which one?
Advertising Tribune.
Okay. I'll get your card afterwards.
The Fostoria paper's there in the back, the handsome looking guy.
Okay. I'll have to get your information as well afterwards.
Okay, we're ready.
To proceed, sure. Well, thanks for your time and thanks for having me. I'll be brief. Really, this was just sort of a goodwill briefing to make you guys aware of some of the work that we're doing in the area. The best way to sort of start out is if you pulled out this page here, which you have in front of you to sort of brief you on the project and what we have coming down the pipeline. No pun intended, but. We have Sunoco Logistics as a company. We're headquartered in Philadelphia, but we had acquired some old inland and BP assets a couple of years ago. And what this project about Allegheny Access is reactivating a significant portion of those assets. So what we're in the process of doing, and really what this is it's going to be supporting the refineries here in Toledo and Lima and Dayton, and then we're pushing product across Ohio into the eastern Ohio markets and western Pennsylvania markets. When I say products, I mean like refined, you're talking gasoline, heating oil, things of that nature, really whatever the market's calling for on that particular day. The portion of the pipeline that involves Seneca County has actually been down for about 10 years. And sort of what we're here to talk to you today about is this 10-inch section that you have highlighted in red. What that represents is a section of pipeline that we're in the process of reactivating. Again, it's been down for about 10 years, free of product. So the first thing that you do when you go to reactivate, a sort of an idle or dormant line is you do non-destructive testing. If you're familiar with pipeline terminology, they have like an active pig. It's like essentially a probe that goes through the pipeline, does non-destructive testing. And if then there's any anomalies that can then come back, we go and fix those, do an integrity dig it up, replace the pipeline on sort of an as-needed basis. This section of pipeline between Fostoria and Tiffin is actually in pretty good shape. There's only a few digs in that area. What we're in the process of doing right now, and sort of what this letter indicates to landowners is there's some mowing and integrity work that we have going on. The mowing work is actually completed as of last week. It's a little bit more intensive on the Doylestown to Mogador section because it's a more wooded area. But most of the easement and the right-of-way that we have is going through agricultural lands. So in terms of clearing the right-of-way to do that type of work, it was there wasn't too much to do there. So this whole section is actually complete now. What we're in the process of doing right now is, again, the integrity. There's only a couple of digs. We hope to have those completed by either the first of the year or directly afterwards. So we're in our land crews will be out there over the course of the next couple of weeks working on that type of stuff. And landowners, just so you know, have been made aware of all of this. Really, the sort of critical piece in reactivating this type of infrastructure is the hydrostatic charge, which is, we don't know exactly when we're going to do that. Before you activate a pipeline, you need to charge it at around 1.25 to 1.5 times the normal operating pressure. And I guess the million-dollar question on this particular project is when. We could do the 10-inch section from Fostoria to Tiffin in one section, or we could do the 12-inch, or we could do this the whole line, I guess, in one sort of using the same water. So to sort of segue into the next part of the discussion, this gray sort of void that you have here between Tiffin and Doylestown represents about an 80-mile section of pipeline. That existing asset, that old pipeline, has been deemed inadequate. So we're actually
Sorry, deemed inadequate or adequate?
inadequate.
Inadequate.
Yeah, so we're not going to be reactivating that. We'll actually be building essentially an adjacent new section of line within that easement that we have. So we have folks in our land team that are working to acquire essentially, touching base. There is a temporary easement that you have to acquire for this type of work. So despite the fact that we have that easement running through, the deed will need to essentially recontact landowners. In Seneca County, there is a slight reroute. There's about a 6-mile section of pipeline that we're still sort of in the process of determining, excuse me, the optimal route. But like I said, we're all of this will sort of be done. We have land agents that are sort of out there determining what the actual route is going to look like. But by and large, this is an accurate
A
representation.
lot of that, the county signed off on our easement some time ago, as well as the Fair Board did.
Okay.
so
Yeah,
most
I
of
mean,
that
you're
might be
talking,
done.
you have Huron, and there's this, before we can get started, there is a couple of parcels here and there that we're still sort of negotiating with, but it's a tremendous undertaking. I mean, you're talking,
sure.
Hundreds and hundreds of parcels over about the 80-mile stretch, so. That's really where we're at. The million-dollar question in terms of the hydrostatic test before you can sort of reactivate is if we'll do these local sections here, after the new year, which is that's probably our schedule between January and February. We'll be looking to do that. And again, that's in the letter that's gone out to landowners. Or if we do the entire thing at one time after we bring this new section of line online and reconnect everything. And we're looking at like second half of 2014 before we would be flowing product through that. So really that's the nature of the discussion. Sort of wanted to come in. It's good that we're sort of aware of the project, but one of the things that we like to do is to make sure you're sort of aware of the work as we're doing it. I would have preferred to get in a little bit earlier to meet with you guys, but I think it was a little bit naturally with the township supervisors, and they I think in Ohio, you can only meet you have to meet in public, right, for just about everything. So we have met with Fostoria, met with their engineer, met with Loudon Township, and met with Washington. No, I'm sorry, Hopewell Township on this one as well. So as the next, as we commence with right-of-way, sort of the acquisition that we need for the temporary easements in that area, we'll sort of go on afterwards, after a lot of that work's been completed. But that's sort of the nuts and bolts of what we have going on here. But I'd be happy to sort of entertain any questions or anything like that. So it's really just a sort of a goodwill.
Would you be up to a question from the audience?
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Okay. 20 years ago, I bought a strip, 130 acres, north of the CSX tracks,
Okay. What township are you in?
Hopewell.
Okay.
And 3 weeks ago, Saturday morning, I happened to look out over that. It was cold and snow had blown around a little, and had a bunch of dirt dug up out there. And what on earth's going on? And so I drove the gator back there, and guys, they dug up a pipeline. I had seen this pipeline. I knew it was on the farm back in the 70s. When I was farming for a landlord, we'd push some fence row out, and I seen this pipe. It wasn't very far under the ground. So Monday morning I come back, and these guys are working. There's an excavator set there. And I says, "Where are you guys from? What's going on?" "Oh, we're fixing this pipeline." And I says, "Well, who's the foreman?" "Well," I said, "nobody's told me." I said, "You'd think they'd have the courtesy to tell you they's gonna come out on your farm and do a bunch of digging." I had never seen the original easements.
When did you buy the
And
property?
I says, as far, 1992,
92. Okay. This easement goes back to like the
37.
37.
I went in the recorder's office and spent about an hour, and we couldn't find it. Well, I says, as far as I'm concerned, nobody's told me, no courtesy. You guys could be from Mexico, from all I know. I said, just shut down. Well, they made some phone calls there in their truck, and they said, we'll have a foreman here in 2 hours.
Did you ever speak with a land agent?
No,
Okay. What's your name?
no, Dwayne King.
Dwayne King.
Actually, they started digging on the neighbor's farm about 20 foot from where the pipeline lays and come across onto me.
What's
Because I'd seen all the dirt had been dug. They'd been hunting a pipe.
What's your address, Dwayne?
3025 West State Route 18.
3025 West.
Anyhow, this was about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And that's the same parcel that the land is on,
Yes,
or
no,
that the digging is on.
that's my address. That's my living address.
Okay. Does the land have a different address?
I don't have a plot book. I've turned a
I
bunch.
can. Yeah.
It's under Eugene LLC,
Okay.
the farm is, or estate. But, so anyhow, that afternoon about 3:30, this boy come, and it is about zero chill factor out. Actually, I drove my van back there, and so this fella shows up, and I crawled in the truck with him, and he, of course, they had the original easement was sent to the McElhenney people back in 1937. They got $1,500 and $1 to lay 3,000 foot of pipe, with the easement to lay the second pipe within 5 years, within 5 foot of it. So that's this pipe, and at the time half of this 3,000 foot plus was woods. And right after the Depression, I know this family was broke. I know the history of it all. But anyhow, that's what the original, and it shows, as far as my rights, that's what I wonder, is what's my rights? When this boy was here, and I crawled in his vehicle with him, and we talked, and he was going to to send me some information on the internet, which my wife never got. I got the address and we never got it. But I went back in and got the easement, and gave it to Carl Kirschner.
Local attorney, Carl.
Oh, Carl.
Anyhow,
Okay.
I have pictures here. When I sat there in the truck, these boys, what they were doing was digging around this pipe. And so help me, I don't think there's over 20-inch cover on it. It lays on the limestone. And they were digging around this for about 30 foot, and they probably had 4 ton of limestone rock up here on a pile. And I said to him, what are you gonna do with that rock? I says, you can't put that back in that hole because it's gonna be up in Tilly's zone. Oh no, we'll fix it, it'll be just like new. So, you know, they worked that day and the next day, and a week later I was back there chiseling. And here this spot is all nice fixed up. And I go across with the chisel, and this is what I got. Now help, Jeff, you're a farmer. You know what these chisels are. I was running 8 to 10 inches deep, and I went across that zone, and I rolled rocks out of there that was 15, 16 inches in diameter. Now I could have scuffed that pipe right there. I mean, you got 40,000 pounds of equipment, and there's the letter that Carl Kirschner's got, and you'll get it. I don't think, what's my rights as a landowner in Seneca County? So this thing blows a hole in it, and we got a mess. I mean, they didn't even tell me they were coming.
You should have gotten a letter, sir.
I have not gotten anything. I've talked
Okay.
to my farmer, I talked to my daughter,
You
and we haven't got a thing.
You should have gotten one of these. You know.
Is this an active pipe?
No,
It's
this
not-
one's
it's
no,
dormant.
this one's dormant. We're in the process of reactivating it, and it's a good
It's part-
question.
It's part of this whole piece that, you know, it's not a
Yeah, if
different
he's
one.
if he's in Hopewell Township, yeah, it would have been a part of this.
I mean, don't you have a responsibility to put the land back at the level of which you tore it out? Yeah, so I mean, it was tillable before, and it's really not tillable now. Is that,
Yeah, well, that's, you know, I request they haul them rocks off and just put regular dirt in,
Yeah.
you know, but instead, they hit them, and I could have damaged the pipe.
Well, that's
And what's tillage zone? I mean, you got a lease that was written how many years ago for nothing, and today we're farming on a whole different situation.
well. What I can do after this, if you want to talk privately, or we can even discuss this, I can get the land agent on the phone. I haven't been out to the site to see exactly what the state of the land looks like.
Well, it don't make no difference now, it's under snow. I took these pictures an hour after I chiseled it because the snow was coming.
Okay.
And I thought, you know, I'm going to Florida next week, so,
Oh, how long are you gonna be gone for?
till March.
Okay. Oh, really?
smart man?
Until there's no chance of no more snow, right?
I commercially plowed snow for 50 years, so I've been there and done that.
Typically, and just so you know, before we ever come onto someone's property, they're contacted by a
Baloney.
land agent. Is there
Baloney.
someone else with is there someone else within that deed or the property who represents
Yes,
the
my
tract?
daughter
Okay.
farms it.
And she was contacted or no?
No, they have nobody's got any word at all. The
We can-
neighbors, yes.
Yeah. That's
I know my after all this started happening,
Yeah.
they talked to other people, but they never notified us where they dug.
Well, Mr. King, I can tell you that that's extremely abnormal, that we would come onto the property without notifying someone. So what I'm going to do after this conversation is I'll get in touch with the project management who's in charge of land, and we'll get some answers for you. One, in terms of what we're capable, what types of redress we're capable, of providing, and in terms of the areas that we've dug, and two, who was contacted and when and by what means in terms of that property. But I'd like to sort of be, and that's why we do these types of things with the communities. Naturally, I mean, this is a project where it's not me that's out there digging up the line and putting in fill. So we do have folks that are out there.
Well, these guys that's doing it it's a company from Pittsburgh or they were Pennsylvania.
Otis Eastern. Was it Otis Eastern? Does that sound
Well,
right?
I give Carl Kirshner's got the deal.
Okay, gotcha.
That's who I'm dealing with.
Well, let's communicate, and we can get some answers for you. And that's why we do this type of thing. Like
I know you talked to the township trustees. I talked to one of them, and well, I found that out afterwards. And anyhow, what's my rights?
Yeah.
So I got a crop. There's 3,000 feet plus there.
Have you located the deed, the actual instrument, and
Carl's
deed?
got it. I
Okay.
didn't get 2 copies.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and that
It's-
just so everyone knows,
But it's very vague. It
It-
says tillage zone
Yeah.
and crop damage. Okay, what's crop damage?
Yeah. That's what the.
Next year, this year,
Yeah.
I got a bunch of stone there in the field. Is that crop damage?
I think that's what the. I think frankly, I think that's what the land agent is there to do is to run that title, back to Patton and figure out exactly what we did negotiate. I mean, and this was the first time that you were aware of the actual easement going through the farm.
Oh, I knew the easement was there, but I'd never read it, never could find it.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Standard Oil wrote
are we-
it, and you guys bought it off of them, and somebody.
Is the recorder of deeds, is it online, or do you have to actually go and pull the book out here?
I don't know.
I don't think he's online.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
No. Well, I mean, I was gonna just, if I could get online after this meeting to see
Yeah.
if I could take a look at it.
You
I
can
worked
walk
in
over
land.
to his office.
Yeah. But no, let's communicate. I'll give you a card, and if I can get your contact information, I'd like to figure out what's
Yeah,
going on
by
for
all
that. I
means,
mean,
you
we
can-
don't want
needs to know.
to, the last thing that we want to do is one, we want to make sure that you know what's going in the line, you're educated on the project, and two, we want to make sure that the land, naturally, the easement that is in the pipeline is in a state that's that's acceptable to the landowner. So we'll see what we can come up with.
I mean, and this issue, what just wrote there. So I knocked a hole in that 3/8 wall pipe. See, all they did was wrap some fiberglass around it to protect it. It
So-
had a thin spot in it.
Okay.
So I knocked a hole in it. Is that my fault?
That's a good question. I think that's something
Yeah,
that we need to figure out.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, good. Let's communicate. Yeah. I don't necessarily. I mean, I'd have to go back on a sort of a parcel by parcel
We
basis.
will
I
have
mean,
to let you guys work out. This is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
something the commission.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you came though. So
Sounds to me like there's some errors that were made possibly, but I think it can be rectified.
Yeah.
And to get it to your satisfaction.
I just happened to see this morning in the paper you was gonna talk here, and I thought, by golly, I'm coming in.
yeah.
Is there a minimum cover that's supposed to be on?
That's
Tillage zone.
Yeah.
Out of the tillage zone.
Okay.
What we're finding with
You deep breath. huh?
this is an asset that Sunoco acquired. It was laying dormant there for a while, so it's. And how do I say this correctly? We're sort of the information that we have that we've acquired from inland, is what we're working with. So these type of things are very, very abnormal to occur. But what we can do, like I said, afterwards, is to sort of to figure out where we're at and what we can do to rectify the situation if that works. So
Okay,
I'm glad you came.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll give you a card.
All right, let's go back to the old business.
Thank you for your time. by
Yeah,
the way.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And you? you have any old business, Mrs. Wilson? Okay, Nicole? Mrs. Fuller? Okay, new business.
New business. I have a resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment within the general fund. The request of CP2, moving $950 from contract repairs to supplies, $945.78 from contract services to supplies, $410.35 from travel to other expense, and $1,937.01 from travel to supplies. Total moved $4,243.14. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the general fund. This is at the request of the coroner. Unfortunately, this is an addition we need for autopsies. Our county has been a little bit of a slump this last year with deaths in the county, so we had done an additional 20,000 2 or 3 months ago, and we got a call that he's just billed, he still has an extra 3,500 coming, so hoping between now and the end of the year we won't need any more than 7,500.
Yeah.
I have a supplemental decrease to the permanent appropriations for the Law Library Resources Fund, reducing $7,294.05 from salaries, $157.11 from Medicare, $278.26 from workers' comp, $10.45 from flex spending, $4,378.20 from hospitalization, $1,262.79 from PERS. Total reduction $13,380.86. Have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the Community Development Block Grant Fund 105, putting $60.65 into other expense. Resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment within the Community Development Block Grant Program FY12 Fund 105, moving $438.61 from salaries to other expense, $48.71 from supplies to other expense, $1,100 from travel to other expense, $668.20 from advertising to other expense, $79.16 from Medicare to other expense, $236.55 from workers' comp to other expense, $718.97 from PERS to other expense. Total moved $3,290.20. I have a decrease to the permanent appropriations for the Community Development Block Grant Fund 105, reducing the public rehab CSB HVAC by $71,700. Just decreasing it this year. They will pay out the remainder in 2014. I have a resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment within the FY13 Community Corrections Fund 208, moving $2.51 from salaries to other, $1,080.17 from contract services to other, $150 from travel to other, $9.55 from Medicare to other, and $140.84 from flex spending to other, for total moved $1,383.07. I have a supplemental decrease to the permanent appropriations for the VOCA Grant Fund 110, reducing supplies $322.07, equipment by $225, contract services $2,328.71, travel $941.22, other expense $1,313, Medicare $186.95, workers' comp $403.11, hospitalization $27.88. For that portion of her 110 account, reduction will be $5,747.94. Her other 110 account, she's reducing supplies by $81.44, contract services $174.60, other expense $125, Medicare $16.68, workers' comp $57.55. Total reduction $455.27. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the VOCA Grant Fund 110, putting $12,341.75 into her transfers out. I have a fund transfer to be made to the VOCA Expansion Project Fund 112. This is taking the transfers out from 110 for her 2013 to her 2014, so it's 110 to 112. Transfers in and transfers out. $12,341.75. I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of January 12th, 2013, volume 89, page 621, decrease to the permanent appropriations for the Community Housing Improvement Program, Fund 111, Fund 157. Seems a little odd, we're reducing it and it's January 13th, but that's what they've requested to do. It's something the auditors caught.
Was that the one for page 621?
Yes.
It's because it was on there twice last week.
Oh,
I didn't realize
okay.
the resolution got printed twice, so it went through
Okay.
twice, and Mary Jane had called and said to rescind one of them.
Okay.
Sorry.
I have a resolution authorizing the FY 2014 Airport Improvement Program application to rehabilitate the runway, apron, and authorize Holly M. Stacy, Commissioner, to sign the application and all other related documents on behalf of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners, retroactive to December 13th, 2013. I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of January 12th, 2013, volume 89, page 615. Supplemental appropriation within the FY13 Community Corrections Fund 208.
That, I don't know why she rescinded it. She just said they didn't need that right now.
But the board's orders is from January 12th of 2013. That's the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
that's supposed to be December.
Okay, that makes a big difference.
Sorry. I'll fix that.
Is that the same on the other resolution as well? It said January.
It says January.
This
that one
is
as well.
January of
All right, I'll redo
2013.
both of them. Sorry.
Okay, so it's rescinding the board's order of December 12th.
Yes.
Makes more sense. 2013. I have a resolution authorizing an agreement contract with the Lucas County Board of Commissioners for the Lucas County Coroner to perform certain necessary autopsies and toxicology reports for the calendar year 2014. And I have a resolution authorizing an amendment for the 4D service contract between the Seneca County Juvenile Court Magistrate on behalf of the Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services. And I think that's all I have.
That's it. Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the amendments as outlined.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any of them? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes. Anything else from the board or from Mrs. Wilson?
Just a reminder, we have no board on the 24th and the 31st. And then we have board at 10 o'clock on the 26th.
We will meet Thursday of next week
Yes,
rather than
yep.
Tuesday. Yep.
And that'll be cleaning up all of the accounts
Or
for
your
payroll and
stuff.
stuff like that.
Okay. Hopefully Mr. Zoller will be feeling good by then. He's gonna have a little operation tomorrow. Anything from the public? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn, and we wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Okay,
We'll
we're
get that in
adjourned.
minutes.
12:05.
And I did not cancel Christmas Eve. I thought about that over and over, it's like,